結局は薬に行き着くみたいだね。
そうね、現在精神科医の診断イコール精神薬となっているの。
The whole question then becomes, okay, if we apply these labels, what next? And the what next tends to be you get a prescription. And the prescription is for a drug that doesn't work very well and is toxic.
It's like a 1-2 punch. The number one of the 1-2 punch is the diagnostic manual. You've got all these disorders to choose from. The two is the treatment. So you've got the diagnostic manual in place, you've got a machinery in place, and then you've got this treatment that is there for the taking.
For everything you can think of that might seem to be odd behavior, the psychiatry field has a name for it. And then for every name of every diagnosis you have, there's going to be pharmacology behind it, and they have a pill for it.
Let me fan it out and pick a card, and there you go. Here's your label, and there's the drug that we'll give you to go along with that label.
98%, maybe 99% of people will get a diagnosis that justifies the use of a medication and also a follow-up appointment. Because remember, the business of medicine, the business of psychiatry is seeing patients. And the psychiatrist that tells a patient they don't have a problem and there's no medicine for that problem doesn't have a very busy practice.
And that's sort of the purpose of the DSM-345, to provide a diagnosis that can be given a drug for that patient.
It's a quick buck. You don't need to do a physical exam. You put it in the chart, it's done. Prescribe away. Lifetime patient. That's what the DSM is for.
DSM は薬物療法を正当化するためだけのものだっていうこと？
残念ながらそうよ。
わあ。じゃあ精神科医の主な治療法が薬ならかなり薬が処方されてるんだろうね。
もちろんよ。毎年精神薬の処方箋が6億枚も書かれているって知ってる？
そんなに？薬が欲しくない患者はどうなるの？
DSM にはそういうカテゴリーまで用意してあるの。
Says V15.81 non-compliance with treatment. Now this category can be used when the focus of clinical attention is non-compliance with an important aspect of treatment for a mental disorder or a general medical condition. If you refuse treatment, then you probably are mentally ill, ipso facto, by that fact alone.
じゃあ精神科医の言う通りにしないとそれが精神障害になるってわけ？
その通り。
おっかねえ。どうして治療に従わない人がいるんだろう？
精神科医が処方する薬はとても激しい身体的な反応を引き起こす可能性があるからよ。
副作用ってこと？
まあちょっと違うの。
Drugs really don't have side effects. Drugs only have effects, and we arbitrarily differentiate those effects of the drug that we like, and we say these are the effects of the drug. And those that we don't like, those are the side effects. It's akin to saying that a bomb that comes down on a building kills people and destroys the building, and the military general says, oh, killing of the people is really a side effect. No, you cannot separate out the destroying of the building and the killing of the people. And so these are not side effects, these are direct effects of the drug creating disaster.
People think antidepressants are going to make them happy, but it's not what they do. They numb them down, and then in themselves there's a withdrawal state from the antidepressants.
They just become like robots, some of them. They're not actually able to experience the whole variety and range of human feelings and emotions and work with them and express with them and share them with others. Because once you sort of put somebody on a heavy dose psychotic drug, I mean, you're just dehumanizing them.
These are very potent, very toxic medicines, cause on themselves diabetes, high cholesterol, cause what's called a metabolic syndrome, truncal obesity, premature hardening of the arteries.
They affect the heart and the lungs and the kidneys, and you never know exactly what to expect.
Most psychotropic drugs lead to massive weight gain. Some of them, like olanzapine, for example, can lead to weight gains of 25, 30, even 40 kilos in a year or two, and that is serious.
One of the side effects is it affects your sexual performance. abilities.
In people who are on a lot of medication, they're just totally unable to detoxify through their liver, and then other functions of the body shut down one by one.
These drugs have on their labels may increase risk of suicide and homicide in people who take them, just like a carton of cigarettes tests to say may be hazardous to your health.
And there's cases where many people who commit suicide or commit acts of violence are on these medications, which definitely has this type of side effect.
You look at the side effect profile is identical to what they're trying to treat, and in some cases worse, and especially in the instance of suicide, then you could see that it's an extremely treacherous area with very, very little actual science behind it.
冗談でしょ？この薬は危険なんじゃない？
そう、精神医学に助けを求め、薬を与えられた何千もしくは何百万もの人々が最終的にはその命を破壊されたの。例えば学校のテスト前に神経質になったことでゾロフトを取ったキャンディス。スティーブンはプロザックを服用し始めてから19日後には自殺。大学進学を希望していたジュリーはゾロフト服用のたった7日後に首吊り自殺。マシューは13歳で首吊り自殺。マットは21歳にしてさまざまな精神薬を取り、ケイトリンはゾロフトとトラザドン、ベスは不眠症のためにパキシル、マットはレキサプロ、シャールスはクロザピン、ケイトリンは12歳でメーガン、アロン。
ちょっと待って、正気じゃないよ。この自殺した人たちみんな精神薬を取ってたっていうの？
そう、毎年精神薬絡みで死亡した人の数は4万2000人に上ると推定されているの。
それって月に3000人以上じゃん。こんな薬店から取っ払っちゃえよ。
間違いなくそうするべきね。でも精神科医の主な治療法はこの薬なので、彼らはその危険性を軽視しているの。そして患者はその代償を負うのよ。
When you get on the psychiatric drugs, you feel just like you don't really want to live anymore. Like just depressed all the time, and you feel sad.
You don't feel like you're in your own skin. It almost feels like you just want to come out of your skin all the time.
Get really bad headaches, I'd start shaking, I wouldn't sleep very well, I'd have nightmares.
I had started shaking really bad and it was like uncontrollable, you know, and it's like, I don't understand why I shake so much.
It brought on the symptoms that I was trying to escape from, very severe.
I'd go through spells where I'd just be completely just dead. There would not be me there. I'd just be standing there and there would be nothing.
I think we all have emotions, happy, sad, you know, situational emotions in life, and it didn't allow me to experience them.
You don't experience tears, you don't experience a lot of laughter. It just makes life real flatline.
I described to a friend of mine as like waking up in a manila folder and it's a cloudy day. Everything is boring, unmemorable, unspecial.
It changed me. It changed who I was. It changed the essence of my personality.
You know, it just started making me worse. And I got in such bad fights with my brother. I scratched his face up and, you know, stuff like that.
I started to experience suicidal ideations almost immediately. And I had never had any feeling like that before.
I remember when I was at home one day, I had taken my medication and I thought about killing myself, and I got really scared, so I ran to my brother and I told him, and he just held me and told me not to give up and to just keep trying.
And I actually thought that's maybe the one thing that I do have control over, that I could, you know, I could off myself, and I would be out of this roller coaster of an existence.
I have been raped. I have been coerced into doing things that I do not care to speak of. But just to put it in perspective, even having experienced that, the experiences and thoughts and loss of self that I had being put on Prozac was the worst violation I have ever experienced.
唖然だね。人は精神科医を信用しているからこの薬の影響を知らないんだな。
それだけじゃなく、最近の研究によると抗うつ剤のような薬の障害に対する治癒効果は偽薬と変わらないことが分かっているわ。
ということは精神科医は DSM から選んだレッテルを人に貼り、 それによって効果がなく、しかもあらゆる副作用が伴う強力な薬を与えるということか。本当にめちゃくちゃじゃないか。
確かに。それでも彼らは望ましくない振る舞いは化学物質で対処できると考え続けているの。当然、精神科医は DSM にリストされた障害ごとに薬を売り込むことができるため、製薬業界に気に入られているの。
こういう宣伝知ってるよ。どこにでもあるじゃん。
そう、でも彼らは障害まで売り込んでいるのよ。製薬会社では DSM に掲載された障害を宣伝し、テレビやインターネットなどで担当の医師に相談しましょうと促しているのよ。彼らは雇った専門家をテレビのトークショーに出し、最近の精神病の流行について語らせているの。さらにそれを新聞に売り込んだり、研究を実施するために精神科医を雇い、科学的に見せるように数々の障害を論文に書き上げさせているの。
人々が障害を持っていると考えれば精神薬を求めるだろうから。
その通り。
The pharmaceutical industry markets disorders because if you can market a disorder, then you've got something to sell your product to treat.
So people suddenly come to think of things they previously didn't regard as a disease state as a disease. Go to the doctor, see the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist then prescribes the drug that the drug companies have received FDA approval for, and everyone is happy except for the patient.
They're all working together, the psychiatrists, the pharmaceuticals, and one feeds the other. So again, job security for the pharmaceuticals and also job security for the psychiatrists.
病気を売り込んでいるのは製薬会社だけじゃないの。精神科医であるジョセフ・ビーダーマンも小児双極という障害を作り上げ、注目を集めさせたのよ。彼は実際にこの障害は幼児が目を開けた時から始まると述べているわ。
双極性障害？気分の変動があるから？幼児に対して？
そう、9年以内にビーダーマン博士は以前の40倍もの数の子供に双極性障害のレッテルを貼り、その多くが最も深刻な精神病にのみ与えられた強力な抗精神病薬を処方されたの。
知らなかった。
DSM-4 を編集した精神科医はこの小児双極性障害の流行に DSM が関わっていることを認めてるわ。
Well, we learned some very, very painful lessons in doing DSM-4, but inadvertently, I think we helped to trigger 3 false epidemics. One for the childhood diagnosis of bipolar disorder.
手遅れでしょ？
多くの子供にとってね。そして精神科医が双極性障害のような精神障害は治らないと主張したことで、精神科医と製薬会社には障害患者ができたの。
自然とパートナー関係になったってわけね。
その通り。製薬会社はとんでもない額の研究資金を精神科医に提供し、その代わりに精神科医は精神薬による治療の診断を増やしているの。
Drug companies have become increasingly dependent on mental illness diagnoses in order to maintain their profit margins. And psychiatrists and increasingly clinical psychologists are more than happy to manufacture mental illness in order to make that happen. Hence, the increase in size of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders.
The strategy is how many people we can diagnose with a particular label that would be broad enough to include a ton of people in it. And the mentality behind that is the sale of the pharmaceutical drug, which eventually becomes the treatment.
These drug companies are making a lot of money, and they're spilling that money and sending that money to people that will help support their cause. So it's not a surprise at all that they have infiltrated so many of the committees within the DSM.